Danielle here from Ladies That Lead, and I'm introducing the amazing Charmaine here today for a interview regarding herself and her business and her journey and her insights. So really glad to have you here, Charmaine, and really looking forward to this interview.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to get started, what ignited your kind of within you to sort of start out in your business and in your journey? And sort of if you had the chance to sort of start again, what would you do differently?
Well, it's an interesting question because I can either start my business now and tell you about that, or I can go back to when I stopped working due to choices of being a mother. And different stages of life motivated me to do different things. When I had small children, I wanted more mental stimulation, but I had to work at home. So that motivated me to do a small business at home. Then, as my children grew up, I found that that small business didn't work for me anymore, and I needed something a bit more. And I actually went and I got an introduction, and I worked at Village Roadshow.
Right.
But I had to do it in the parameters of being a mother. So again, I wanted more mental stimulation, but being a mother and picking up my kids and doing all of that stuff determined how I would work. So I actually got a 3-day-a-week part-time job.
Right.
And then as my children grew older, I think it was the year 2000, I actually decided that I didn't want to work for a boss anymore. I wanted to do a little more of my own thing. I wanted to have my own freedom. And I also found that I was a lot older than everybody else in the workforce, particularly at Village Roadshow. So that then motivated me to go and see somebody who was dealing in women's transitional life periods.
Right.
And at the first thing I said to her was, I don't want to work for a boss anymore. And the last thing she said to me was, you need to prepare a CV. So I walked out of there thinking she didn't listen to a word I said. And it motivated me to think, well, I can do what she's doing because there needs to be a niche. There's a niche market for that.
Yeah.
And except I can do it better than her. So that made me bite the bullet and actually go back and study and upskill, which was a really scary thing to do because I hadn't written an academic essay for 30 years.
Right.
So I went and upskilled. And I found a different path. Actually, it set me on one path, but I found a different path to where I am today in counselling and psychotherapy.
Wow.
So I upskilled.
Beautiful.
And I bit the bullet and everything that comes with that, and now I'm in my own business of counselling and psychotherapy.
Perfect.
So that's it.
Great. Well, that's definitely a great journey. So if you could sort of offer sort of 3 pieces of advice for even, people going through college or university who sort of want to become an entrepreneur, what sort of advice would you give them starting out?
The first piece of advice I'd give them is to stick with it. Whether you're sure or not sure of what you want to do, just stick with it because you'll find your way.
Yeah.
Just stay with it. You'll find your way. And one path can set you on to another path.
Exactly.
So that's the first bit of advice. The second bit of advice is you've got your internal fears, which are enough. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't listen to the external fears. Listen to your own voice. As long as you're working, as long as you're on a path, as long as you're committed to some sort of direction, keep going. Just keep going because society will tell you that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Lots of people around you are going to tell you that you're going to fail. Your internal voice is going to tell you that you're going to fail. So what I'm saying is just keep with it.
Yeah.
And the third piece of advice is to go and really experience what it is you think you want to do. Do an internship or even hang out for free to make sure it's what you think it is.
Yeah. Really?
Because sometimes you have a notion of what it is and it's totally different.
Yeah.
And that, again, will help you change direction to what you want more.
100%. Okay. So looking back, and I don't like to use the word failure, I like to, use lessons or learnings, but what have sort of been some of your lessons or learnings or failures, if you want to call them that, that you've found in your business over the years, and sort of what's been sort of the main learning point from that? Sort of the lessons that you've learned from that?
Well, I think when I started off in counselling and psychotherapy, I initially started as a volunteer counsellor, so I could really understand the nature of the work. I think the biggest failing is when you rent a room and you pay rent and there's no one coming through your door.
Right.
So that's very disheartening, that you sit there and you think, rightio, now what? I've hung up my shingle, I've rented a room, I've found a space, but how do I market myself?
Yeah.
And then you've got to jump through hoops, basically, to find out how to market yourself, how to be different from someone else, what are your strengths. And I think, looking back at that, I think my failure was that I wasn't so adept with social media.
Right.
I had to come up to date. I had to bring myself up to date with what was current. And until I did that, I think I was stuck.
Okay. Alrighty. And what's sort of your favourite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think the satisfaction that you get from your achievements. I mean, to achieve a postgraduate diploma after 30 years of actually going to any tertiary institution was a huge achievement to me. I mean, my kids used to laugh at me because I used to start an essay 6 weeks before it was due. But to do that was a huge achievement. Then to actually see my name professionally lit up there was another huge achievement. And don't forget, I was over 50 when I did this.
Yeah.
So to reignite that in your life is a huge, huge achievement. And to do something totally different from what my first career, and I'm university trained to be a teacher. So I went from that to doing something totally different, and the satisfaction I got actually from the learning and from seeing the fruition of that learning is huge.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. The journey is truly magical. So what would you say are sort of the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur? I know you mentioned earlier about, just sticking with it and not listening to sort of the outside noise and sort of societal pressures, but is there anything else that's sort of coming up for you?
Well, yes, that perseverance is one thing, and you need to be self-motivated. You need to be your own detective. You need to go and find out things. You need to look at what's current, and you need to keep current.
Yeah. So
you need to be self-motivated. And I think the third thing you can do is network, and network within your family. Whilst I said there are negative voices, there are positive voices there too. So include those that you trust to be able to give you a bit of wind beneath your wings to help you on your journey.
Yeah, perfect. And who's one of your sort of greatest inspirational people or in business that you look up to?
Well, in my business, I guess I deal with 2 very inspirational women. One is my supervisor, and one is my own therapist, who's more like a mentor to me.
Yeah.
And they are mature age women, and they are truly inspirational.
Fantastic. Okay. And
my family.
And your family, of course. And what has been your most sort of satisfying memory and moment in business?
My most satisfying memory, I think the most satisfying thing was when I told you I was at Village Roadshow. Originally I got an introduction, and it was, let's see how long she'll last, because I had to prove myself.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, I was the oldest person in the whole environment. And I ended up being very well regarded, and I ended up staying there for quite a considerable amount of time.
Right.
So that was a bit of I'll show you that I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the same now where I am now in my own practice, that I actually showed you I could do it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a great feeling, isn't it? When it's sort of a fine line between, the disempowering thoughts and the empowering thoughts when someone says, oh, you can't do that, and, to hell I can't, and you wait and watch type
Yeah,
thing.
you wait and watch. And it's a hard road, but when you can say, look, the clients are walking through the door, I did it.
Yeah.
And it's a tremendous feeling.
Yeah, and the fear of, not following through with that vision and with that journey is almost more scary.
You there.
Oh, you got me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now that's better.
I was just saying that, the fear of not following through with your dreams and following your passion, that's almost more scary than doing so.
Yeah, but there's another fear, the fear of actually success, because some people fear that, I'm going to be too busy, and if I'm too busy, how am I going to juggle? And if I'm going to be this, how am I going to do that? Some people fear the opposite. Some people go in and they're stuck because they fear that they will be successful and they don't know how they're going to handle that.
Yeah.
So, there are many fears, as you said, and I think once you overcome them, it's very personally satisfying.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. So what sort of sacrifices did you have to make in the early days, or even throughout your journey, obviously, in becoming a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I think the sacrifices that you make with any choice, there's a loss. Mm-hmm. So the sacrifices that you make with kids, when you're a mum with kids, you've got to juggle. It's a huge juggling act.
Yeah.
And, the odds are that when you've got the most important meeting of the day, you've got a sick kid. So you've got to find someone to look after your kid. Or the odds are there's a very important meeting scheduled just at school pickup time, because bosses haven't evolved to understand that that they have to be a little flexible too. Mm-hmm. So, I think those sorts of things get in the way, the juggling and the things that you give up. Sure, you give up maybe friendships for a time because you don't have that much time to devote to that. Yeah. You're exhausted from time to time. Your relationship can suffer. Mm-hmm. Your parenting can sometimes suffer. Mm-hmm. But then again, if you find that it's too much, that's a signal to modify whatever you're doing. Yeah. If you find that it's boring, then that's another signal to modify what you're doing. And if you find that you can tolerate the juggling and you can wear all the different hats, then you're on a path, you're on a right track. I think it's all part of the journey, actually. Mm-hmm. But the juggling was the hardest. Okay, perfect. So you mentioned at the start a little bit about your business. Can you just elaborate a little bit more about sort of who you help and how we can get in touch with you and how, you've said how your business has evolved, but a little bit about yourself and your business and where you see yourself and your business sort of in the next sort of, 10 years and beyond. Okay, well, as I said, I'm a counsellor psychotherapist in practice in Sydney's eastern suburbs in Rose Bay. I see individuals, couples and families, and I work primarily with relationships, which encompass everything, because you have a relationship with yourself, you have a relationship with others, and you have a relationship with the world. So that's what I do. As to where I'm headed, I continually upskill. Yeah. So I'm in the midst of now doing the John Gottman courses for couples. I've completed level 1 training. So I'm ever evolving in my own practice. So I'm honing those skills. Where I see myself in 10 years' time, I think because it's not a static business, because the business is up and down, it's flexible, it changes. I see myself in 10 years' time perhaps being a bit busier. Yeah. I see myself in 10 years' time working. Yeah. Still working. I'd like to be a mentor to others. I would like to be able to assist women in transitional periods to be able to overcome those hurdles, those fears about going back into the workforce or doing something entirely different or taking a leap of faith and going to study, and all those things that stop them. So that's where I'd like to be, continuing to evolve my practice.
Beautiful. Great answer. So, yeah, the future's looking bright, and everything's fantastic. So, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your journey with us and the other beautiful women in this community. So, look forward to watching you continue to grow in the future and your business to flourish and all of that kind of thing. So, thank you so much for your time. And is there any sort of parting words that you would like to share with the ladies? A little tip of inspiration or a favourite quote?
Well, I mean, yeah, there is a favourite quote, but actually I'll just put a plug for me. You can learn more about me from my website, www.charmaineroth.com.au. But I think there's a very good quote that says, you don't have to climb the whole staircase, you just need to take the first step.
Yeah.
And I think that is it. Once you take the first step, and, you have someone with you on that journey or encouraging you, no matter if it's a friend or a family member or even just yourself pushing yourself, just take a step and see what happens. Don't stand at the bottom of the staircase looking up.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
That would be my advice, particularly to women who, because I think women's lives change so much. So, that would be my parting advice. And thank you very much, Danielle. It's great to be a contributor to you and your business.
No worries at all. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Bye.